The tension in the Chancellor's office was suffocating. Anakin Skywalker watched the scene before his eyes with a divided heart. Mace Windu kept his purple lightsaber pointed at Palpatine's face, who lay fallen on the floor, seemingly defenseless. The young Jedi knew that this moment would define not only his destiny, but the destiny of the entire galaxy. His secret master, the one who had promised to save him from his dark visions, was about to be executed. But something inside Anakin, a voice that echoed with the wisdom of his former master Qui-Gon Jinn, said there was another way. True justice could not be achieved through summary execution, no matter how justified it seemed at that moment. "Master Windu, wait," Anakin said, his voice laden with urgency. "We can't do this. He needs to stand trial. If we kill him now, we'll be as bad as he is. The Jedi represent justice, not revenge." Windu turned partially, his eyes still fixed on Palpatine, processing Skywalker's words. There was truth in those words, a truth he himself had taught for decades at the Jedi Temple. Revenge was not the way of the Force. The code was clear about that. After a moment that seemed to stretch for an eternity, Windu nodded slowly. "You're right, young Skywalker. Justice must prevail." Palpatine, still on the floor, watched the scene with calculating eyes, already plotting his next move even in his apparent defeat. But the Sith Lord was not willing to accept capture without a fight. With a scream of pure and primitive rage, Palpatine extended his twisted hands and a torrent of blue lightning exploded from his fingertips toward the two Jedi. Mace Windu reacted instantly, positioning his purple blade to absorb and reflect the deadly energy. The lightning ricocheted around the office, destroying furniture and burning the ornate walls. Anakin activated his blue saber, positioning himself beside Windu to form a defensive barrier. The Jedi Master maintained his firm position, defending against the attacks, but deliberately choosing not to advance for a fatal blow. He had made his choice to follow the path of justice and would not turn back. The light from the sabers and lightning created dancing shadows throughout the room, while the clash of power continued. Palpatine, realizing that his first assault had failed, intensified his attack. His yellow eyes gleamed with pure hatred as he channeled even more power from the dark side. The lightning became more intense, more concentrated, specifically targeting Mace Windu, whom he recognized as the most immediate threat. The air became charged with static electricity and the smell of ozone permeated the environment. Anakin felt the opportunity present itself before him like a crystalline revelation. While Palpatine concentrated all his attention and power on Windu, the young Jedi moved with Force-enhanced speed. In a fluid and precise movement, his blue lightsaber cut through the air in a brilliant arc. Palpatine's two hands were separated from his arms in a single clean stroke. The Sith Lord screamed in agony and surprise, falling to his knees as the lightning ceased abruptly. "It's over, Sidious," Mace Windu declared, his deep and authoritative voice echoing through the devastated office. Palpatine was left defenseless without his hands, his face contorted in a mask of pain and impotent fury. Senate guards, alerted by the commotion, began to invade the office. Windu raised a hand, preventing them from acting rashly. "This man is Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord we have been looking for. He is under arrest for treason against the Republic." The guards hesitated, confused by the accusation against the man they considered their supreme chancellor. Anakin remained on guard, his saber still active, ensuring that Palpatine would not attempt any other desperate maneuver. The arrest of the most powerful man in the galaxy had been carried out, but both Jedi knew that the real battle was only beginning. Weeks later, in the Great Hall of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, a solemn ceremony was underway. The Jedi High Council gathered in complete formation, with Master Yoda at the center. Anakin Skywalker knelt before them, still processing the turbulent events that followed Palpatine's capture. The investigations revealed the full extent of the Sith conspiracy, including the creation of the clone army and the manipulation of the war. Yoda raised his staff, his ancient eyes fixed on the young Jedi. "Anakin Skywalker fulfilled the prophecy. You have. Balance to the Force brought you have. To the rank of Jedi Master, elevated you are." The words echoed through the hall like silent thunder. Mace Windu stepped forward, placing a hand on Anakin's shoulder. "Rise, Master Skywalker. The Order recognizes your worth and your choice to follow the right path at the most crucial moment." Anakin stood, tears of relief and gratitude shining in his eyes, finally receiving the recognition he had so desired. Palpatine's imprisonment should have been the end of the Sith threat, but it proved to be only the beginning of a new and insidious battle. Even confined in a maximum security cell, constantly watched by guards, the former Chancellor maintained his most dangerous power. His silver tongue and his ability to manipulate minds through carefully chosen words. He received selected visitors, senators who still saw him as a wronged leader, and planted seeds of doubt in each conversation. "The Jedi tried to assassinate me in my own office," he whispered in a weak and broken voice. "They wanted to take control of the Republic. I was just a victim of their thirst for power." His words, loaded with half-truths and calculated distortions, began to spread through the Senate like an insidious virus. Many senators, already uncomfortable with the military power that the Jedi had accumulated during the Clone Wars, found in these allegations a justification for their fears. The Galactic Senate became a battlefield of words and divided loyalties. Bail Organa, the noble senator from Alderaan, was horrified to realize how effectively Palpatine continued to manipulate the legislative body even from his cell. He met with Mon Mothma and Padme Amidala of Naboo in his private office to discuss the situation. "This is outrageous," Padme declared, her voice trembling with indignation. "We have concrete evidence of his manipulations of his Sith identity. How can the senators ignore this?" Mon Mothma, always pragmatic, responded calmly, "Fear, Padme. They are afraid of Jedi power. Palpatine is exploiting that fear with mastery." Bail nodded gravely. "We need to form a coalition, a united front that defends the Jedi and exposes Palpatine for what he really is. If we don't act now, we'll witness one of the greatest injustices in the history of the Republic." The three agreed to lead this political resistance, aware that the battle would be arduous. In the Jedi Temple, Mace Windu gathered the council to discuss the deteriorating situation. His expression was somber as he reported the latest developments in the Senate. "The situation is more dangerous than we imagined. Even imprisoned, Sidious holds the Senate in his hands. His lies are gaining traction among the legislators." Ki-Adi-Mundi leaned forward, his expression worried. "Should we consider presenting more evidence? Perhaps the holographic records of his conversations with Count Dooku?" Plo Koon shook his head. "Those who want to believe in Palpatine will find ways to question any evidence. The problem is deeper than facts." Yoda closed his eyes, feeling the currents of the Force. "Dark the future is. A shadow over the Republic still hovers." Obi-Wan added his perspective. "Perhaps we should withdraw more from the public arena, demonstrate that we do not seek political power." But Windu vehemently disagreed with this approach. "Withdrawal would be interpreted as an admission of guilt," Windu argued, standing up to emphasize his point. "We cannot simply hide and wait for the storm to pass. Sidious is more dangerous now than when he wielded a saber. He has turned the Senate into his weapon." Anakin Skywalker, now sitting among the Masters as a full member of the Council, watched the discussion with growing discomfort. He had thought that saving Palpatine from summary execution would be the right path, but now he questioned this decision as he saw the consequences unfold. Plo Koon spoke firmly. "Master Windu is right. We need to work with our allies in the Senate. Bail Organa, Mon Mothma and Senator Amidala are organizing a defense. We must support them. Truth is our strongest ally. We must trust that, eventually, it will prevail. The danger cannot be underestimated," Mace Windu reiterated, his eyes scanning each member of the council. "Sidious has played a long game for decades, perhaps longer, if we count the machinations of his master Plagueis. He will not be easily defeated, even without his hands and his freedom. He has the Senate exactly where he wants it, divided, suspicious, and afraid." Windu's words echoed through the council chamber with prophetic weight. Anakin felt a tightness in his chest, a premonition of difficult times ahead. He thought of Padme, working tirelessly in the Senate to defend the Jedi Order, and felt both pride and concern. Yoda opened his eyes again and looked directly at Anakin. "Young Skywalker, disturbed you are. Feel the future darkness you can. Trust in the Force we must. But vigilant we will remain." The council dissolved with a shared sense of apprehension, each master returning to their responsibilities, aware that the battle for the soul of the Republic was far from over. In the corridors of the Senate, Bail Organa organized meetings with undecided senators, trying to build a solid coalition of support for the Jedi. In one of these meetings, he directly confronted Palpatine's allegations. "Fellow senators, I ask you to consider the facts. Darth Sidious orchestrated both sides of the Clone Wars. He created a conflict that killed trillions to consolidate absolute power. The Jedi are not our enemies. They are our protectors for 1,000 generations." A senator responded with skepticism. "But Senator Organa, how do we explain the fact that Master Windu invaded the Chancellor's office with the intent to kill him? Doesn't this suggest a coup attempt?" Before Bail could respond, Padme stood up. "They went to stop a traitor, not execute a coup. The difference is crucial. Palpatine revealed himself as Darth Sidious, the architect of our destruction. The Jedi acted to save the Republic, not to destroy it." The discussion continued for hours, with each side presenting passionate arguments. Mon Mothma watched everything with calculating attention, making notes about which senators could be persuaded and which were lost to Palpatine's cause. The battle for the heart of the Republic would be long and brutal, fought not with lightsabers, but with words and votes. The following months witnessed a gradual but consistent erosion of the Jedi's position in galactic society. Holocaust networks broadcast heated debates about the Order's role in the Republic. Political analysts questioned whether a religious organization with military capabilities should have so much power in a democratic government. Demonstrations began to emerge on various worlds, some pro-Jedi, others against. On Coruscant, a large anti-Jedi demonstration gathered thousands of citizens who carried signs accusing the Order of totalitarianism and manipulation. Anakin Skywalker watched the broadcasts, feeling an overwhelming weight of guilt grow in his heart each day. He had insisted on keeping Palpatine alive, convinced that justice should prevail over summary execution. Now, watching the Sith manipulate the situation from his cell, Anakin began to question whether he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Perhaps Mace Windu was right from the beginning. Perhaps some evils were too great to be contained by cages and trials. Doubt consumed Anakin from the inside out. He spent sleepless nights, replaying that crucial moment in his mind infinitely. Every alternative decision he could have made, every different word he could have said. Padme noticed the change in her husband and tried to comfort him, but words of encouragement seemed empty in the face of the magnitude of the situation. Finally, after a particularly difficult Senate session where more senators declared support for Palpatine, Anakin made a decision. He went to meet Mace Windu at the Jedi Temple. The Master was in his quarters, meditating before a window that offered a view of the Coruscant skyline. Anakin hesitated at the entrance, but Windu sensed his presence through the Force. "Come in, Master Skywalker," Windu said without turning. His voice carried no judgment, only a resigned tranquility. Anakin entered slowly, his words caught in his throat. "Master Windu, I need to speak with you." Anakin began, his voice laden with emotion. "About that day in Palpatine's office. I was wrong." Windu finally turned to face him, his eyes studying the young master carefully. Anakin continued, the words coming out in a torrent. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought justice meant a trial, a process. But I didn't understand what we were dealing with. I didn't understand that some enemies are too dangerous to be kept alive." Mace Windu remained silent for a long moment, letting Anakin's words hover in the air between them. Then, he responded with calm wisdom. "You made the decision you believed to be correct at that moment, Anakin. None of us can predict all the consequences of our actions. The Force guides us, but does not control us." The words surprised Anakin, who expected reproach or even anger. "But you knew," Anakin insisted, taking a step forward. You knew he was too dangerous. I should have trusted your judgment. Because of me, the entire order is in danger now." Windu rose from his meditation position and walked to Anakin, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "What is done, young master. We cannot change the past. We can only learn from it and move forward. Your choice came from a place of compassion and justice. These are not qualities to be ashamed of." Windu's words seemed to break a dam inside Anakin. Mace Windu, often seen as harsh and inflexible, showed a different side at that moment. He allowed Anakin to express his pain, remaining present and supportive. When Anakin finally composed himself, something had changed between the two men. A mutual understanding, a respect born of shared vulnerability. "What do we do now?" Anakin asked. Windu returned to the window, watching the planet city extend to the horizon. "We continue fighting for the truth. We support our allies in the Senate. We trust that the Force will guide us through the storm." Anakin joined him at the window, and the two remained in contemplative silence. For the first time since they met, there was no tension between them. The distrust that Windu had always maintained toward Anakin, and the hurt that Anakin had always felt from the Master's rejection, began to dissipate. They were not just Jedi colleagues now, but true allies united by common purpose. In the following days, other members of the Order noticed the change. Anakin and Windu were often seen conversing, sharing insights and strategies. Their closeness brought a new dynamic to the Council and a renewed sense of unity to the Order at a time when they needed it most. Meanwhile, Palpatine's trial finally began in the Supreme Court of the Republic. The galleries were packed with senators, journalists, and citizens eager to witness the process. The prosecution's case seemed solid. Evidence of his Sith identity, records of communications with separatists, testimonies from Jedi, and statements from captured members of Sidious's inner circle. But Palpatine, represented by the best lawyers his vast secret treasure could buy, contested each piece of evidence with impressive skill. He presented himself as a dedicated leader unjustly persecuted by a religious organization seeking political power. His lawyers argued that the evidence was fabricated, that Jedi testimonies were biased, that the entire prosecution was an elaborate conspiracy. To the horror of Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Padme, who watched from the Senate galleries, the strategy was working. Jurors began to show doubt. Senators who initially supported the conviction began to waver. After weeks of deliberations, the verdict shocked the galaxy. Not guilty for lack of conclusive evidence. Palpatine was free. Palpatine's acquittal was like an earthquake that shook the foundations of the Republic. Immediately after being released, the former Chancellor announced his intention to establish a special inquiry to investigate what he called the criminal conduct of the Jedi Order. He alleged that the Jedi had attempted to assassinate him, fabricated evidence against him, and conspired to take control of the government. The proposal gained surprising support in the Senate, with many legislators voting in favor out of fear of appearing pro-Jedi in a political climate increasingly hostile to the Order. Anakin Skywalker watched the vote from a gallery, feeling his heart sink with each vote in favor. When the final result was announced, with the inquiry approved by a comfortable margin, he knew what he had to do. The guilt he had been carrying transformed into crystalline determination. He had made a mistake in preventing Windu from finishing the job. Now, he would correct that mistake no matter the personal cost. That night, Anakin could not find peace. He sat on the edge of his bed, watching Padme sleep peacefully, unaware of the decision he had made. He thought about waking her, telling her his plans, but decided against it. What he was about to do was something he needed to carry alone. Silently, he stood and put on his Jedi robe. He attached his lightsaber to his belt and left the apartment like a shadow. The streets of Coruscant were surprisingly deserted at that late hour. Anakin used the Force to move unnoticed, avoiding security patrols and surveillance cameras. He knew the way to Palpatine's private residence, a luxurious penthouse in one of the highest towers of the planet city. The former Chancellor had returned there after his release, refusing official protection in a gesture he proclaimed demonstrated his innocence. But Anakin knew the truth. Palpatine felt safe because he believed he had won, had manipulated the situation perfectly. This arrogance would be his downfall. Anakin broke into the quarters with surprising ease. The defenses, though sophisticated, were no match for a determined Jedi Master. He found Palpatine in his private office, sitting behind a grand desk, reading something on a datapad. The Sith looked up when Anakin entered, and a slow, satisfied smile spread across his deformed face. "Anakin, my boy," Palpatine said in a honeyed voice, "I was expecting you. You've finally seen the truth, haven't you? The Jedi betrayed you, denied you recognition for so long. But together, you and I can." Palpatine didn't finish his sentence. The look in Anakin's eyes was not of an apprentice seeking guidance, but of an executioner arriving to carry out a sentence. Palpatine's smile instantly vanished, replaced by an expression of calculating caution. His artificial hands, sophisticated prosthetics installed after his arrest, began to move subtly towards something hidden under his desk. "I didn't come to join you, Sidious," Anakin declared, his voice cold and resolute. "I came to finish what I should have allowed Master Windu to finish." He activated his lightsaber, the brilliant blue blade illuminating the dark office. Palpatine stood abruptly, his mask of civilized politician falling completely to reveal the Sith Lord beneath. "Then you are a fool like the other Jedi," he hissed with hatred. "You think you can defeat me? I am the dark side." With surprising speed for someone of his age and condition, Palpatine drew a hidden lightsaber, a backup weapon he kept for exactly this type of emergency. The blood-red blade ignited with a menacing hiss. Without further words, Sidious attacked. His fighting style was wild and unpredictable, combining impossible acrobatic movements with brutal direct attacks. But Anakin was prepared this time. He was no longer the confused and divided young knight. He was a Jedi Master, centered in his purpose. The battle that followed was intense but brief. Anakin blocked each of Palpatine's assaults with precision, his years of training and natural talent working in perfect harmony. He did not allow emotion to cloud his judgment, did not let anger or fear dictate his actions. When he saw his opening, Anakin took it. In a quick and fluid movement, he disarmed Palpatine, using the Force to wrench the red saber from the Sith's prosthetic hand. The saber flew through the air, and Anakin caught it with his free hand, now wielding two lightsabers, one blue and one red. The irony of the image was not lost on either man. Palpatine retreated, his options exhausted, his power diminished. But he still had one final trick. Raising his artificial hands, he channeled the dark side through his body and unleashed a torrent of Force lightning that would make his previous display seem like child's play. But Anakin did not retreat. Crossing both lightsabers before him, he advanced against the storm of electrical energy. The lightning collided with the blades and ricocheted, some returning to Palpatine himself. The Sith Lord screamed in agony as his own dark energy began to consume him, his already deformed skin deteriorating further under the uncontrolled power. He tried to stop, tried to contain the flow, but it was too late. The dark side, always greedy, always insatiable, began to devour him from the inside out. Anakin continued advancing, step by step, sabers glowing with blue and red light. When he was just a few meters from Palpatine, the flow of lightning finally ceased. The former Chancellor fell to his knees, his body trembling, barely able to remain conscious. Anakin looked down at the man who had been his secret teacher, his dark mentor, the architect of so much galactic suffering. And then, with a clean and swift movement that echoed exactly what he had done to Count Dooku years before, Anakin Skywalker executed Darth Sidious. The silence that followed was absolute. Anakin deactivated both lightsabers and stood in the silent office, processing what he had just done. He had killed an unarmed man, executed someone without trial or due process. Exactly what he had prevented Mace Windu from doing months before. The irony was bitter but necessary. He activated his communicator and contacted the Jedi Temple directly. It was Mace Windu who answered. "Master Windu," Anakin said calmly, "Darth Sidious is dead. I will turn myself over to the authorities now." There was a long pause on the other side before Windu responded. "We will go together, Master Skywalker. The Order will stand by your side." And they did. When Anakin was arrested for murder, the entire Jedi Order mobilized in his defense. Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Padme organized a massive campaign in the Senate, finally exposing the full extent of Palpatine's manipulations with evidence that had been suppressed during the first trial. What followed was a months-long legal battle, with the Republic divided between those who saw Anakin as a hero and those who saw him as a murderer. But eventually, the truth prevailed. Anakin and the Jedi Order were acquitted of all charges. Bail Organa was elected the new Supreme Chancellor, promising to restore the democratic principles of the Republic and work in harmony with the Jedi, not against them. The galaxy began the long process of healing, knowing it had come close to a consuming darkness, but emerged into the light thanks to the sacrifice and courage of a few dedicated individuals.